Empire of the Ants invites us into the miniature yet colossal world of an ant colony, with graphics that made me question whether I was watching the latest David Attenborough doco, but after digging my way into it, I started to wonder if that's all it had to offer. Empire of the Ants is a third-person real-time strategy game with a sprinkle of science fiction and edutainment. The story, based on Bernard Werber's 1991 novel of the same name, unfolds around our protagonist Ant, known as 103,683rd, a seasoned veteran and highly respected figure within the Balokan ant colony. The colony is facing new threats such as natural disasters, termite invasions, and other rival species, along with the dramas of diplomatic relations. Who knew ants truly had so much going on? I didn't expect much from the story, but it quickly drew me into this tiny yet compelling life of 103,683rd. What a mouthful. Forming strategic alliances, mediating internal conflicts, battling the elements, rising in rank and trust became a real reason to keep me playing. Gameplay in Empire of the Ants revolves around resource management, exploration, and strategic combat, all within a dynamic environment. Each battle starts with a small colony where you gather resources like food and wood to sustain your forces and expand outpost nests. Worker ants need to be deployed to collect essentials while you scout the surrounding area to find resources, threats, enemies, and strategic points. As resources build up, you construct and upgrade nest chambers, enabling the production of specialized units such as workers, warriors, and acid gunners. Balancing what units you take into battle is crucial, as Empire of Ants employs a rock-paper-scissors combat system. Warriors counter workers, workers defeat gunners, and gunners overpower warriors. Keeping on theme, you can unlock abilities based around ant pheromones, which add strategic depth by influencing battles and resource gathering. Releasing pheromones that can make your units angrier to deal more damage, run faster to critical locations and battles, and much, much more. These pheromone abilities were fun and all, but they're just a bit too simple and broad. It would have been great to see some unique pheromones for individual unit types, like a pheromone that temporarily increases gunner range, or worker ant strength to carry resources. As 103,683rd, you command units in person from a third-person perspective. You don't actually do any fighting yourself, you just direct and command units. You can get hurt if you get too close to the fighting, and you have to be close to see what's going on, but I wanted to charge in with my enemies like a true leader would. There were a few moments I just had to play some The Ride of Rohirrim from Lord of the Rings as I watched my armies climb over a ridge, it was a pebble, and charge into battle. Another missed opportunity is that you can't actually enter any chambers or nests. In fact, there's no underground gameplay at all in Empire of the Ants, except for a few cutscenes, and it's honestly frustrating that such a huge part of ant life is mostly ignored. I guess navigating an ant's nest labyrinth would be a bit disorientating, but still, it feels like it's a missing element. And to top it off, you can't build new nests or pick their positions on the map. Nests are predetermined locations that you take over or occupy, which leads to a more King of the Hill type gameplay rather than a colony building sim. Controlling 103,683rd is quite intuitive and easy, unlike their name, except for sprinting. When you sprint, it's like all grip disappears and you turn into what feels like a car with 6 legs, literally running up jumps and propelling yourself in some truly weird ways. My guess is that it's because the sprint button and the drop down button are the same on the controller, which is hopefully an easy fix. Mid-game focuses on defending the colony from predators or rival ants, all while preparing an army for offensive maneuvers. You still need to keep exploring too, uncovering new opportunities, dealing with threats and smaller skirmishes to build out your colony and help refine strategies. Environmental factors like day-night cycles and hazards such as floods keep the gameplay dynamic, tense, and require quick thinking and adaptability. During the building out of your colonies, you can upgrade outposts to have defenses like walls, artillery, and more. During this part of the game, you also start to upgrade crucial HUD-related abilities, such as seeing what enemies are up to, alerts of outposts being attacked, and the minimap. Then the endgame shifts to a more offensive strategy as you lead your forces in attacks on enemy colonies, using pheromones and unit abilities effectively to help turn the tide of large-scale battles, which are quite the spectacle, especially since you crawl around with the troops in person. Victory is achieved by destroying the enemy queen's outpost nest, which at times can be quite difficult, especially if you don't clear other enemy outposts first. This loop of exploration, resource gathering, combat, and environmental adaptation makes each battle feel unique. Is what I wish I could say. It actually becomes quite stale quite quickly, as there are limited unit types, boring and pointless upgrades I didn't end up using, and enemy AI that becomes way too predictable. What actually kept me going was the various side missions Empire of the Ants offers outside of the campaign. Search and rescue, platforming, sabotage, and more await 103,863rd. These missions break up the mundane and help drive the story forward, keeping things interesting and me invested. That being said, replayability of all of this is going to depend on what type of gamer you are. Do you prefer story-driven gameplay, or a game you can get better at the more you play it? That's up to you. The graphics in Empire of the Ants are nothing short of breathtaking. This might be the most realistic looking game I've ever played or seen. With the settings maxed out on PC, every blade of grass, every grain of dirt, and the ripple in every puddle is rendered in stunning detail, creating a world that feels truly alive. From an ant's perspective, the environment becomes a vast, otherworldly landscape where dragonflies and spiders, loom like colossal monsters, and puddles appear as oceans the size of, well, oceans. The hyper-realistic visuals just make you feel like you're really stepping into the world of an ant and make exploring said world a genuine pleasure. However, the graphics aren't without flaws. While they hold up beautifully during gameplay, the HUD can occasionally detract from the realism. I also experienced a frustrating issue in the hub areas, where severe screen tearing and jittering rendered the game nearly unplayable at times. Thankfully, this problem would often resolve itself or disappear entirely once I entered a mission. Despite this, the sheer visual treat of Empire of Ants cannot be overstated. It is truly a feast for the eyes. The multiplayer mode in Empire of the Ants does little to add to the repetitive single-player experience. Modes like 1v1 ranked matches aren't much different to the campaign battles, but the 3-player free-for-alls do bring unpredictability and excitement to the gameplay, since you end up battling two fronts or forming temporary alliances. But this excitement is short-lived, since all games end up kind of feeling the same. Empire of Ants is cross-play though, which is a nice feature to have, especially to help speed up queue times. So, would I recommend Empire of the Ants? It depends. If you're a casual gamer who values story and atmosphere over tactical complexity, this might be a refreshing experience. Might. The unique perspective of leading an ant colony and hyper-realistic graphics are undoubtedly the game's highlights. However, if you're an RTS enthusiast looking for a deep and challenging strategy game, you might find yourself being disappointed. Empire of the Ants just needed more to make it a great game. To truly elevate it, I would love to see more unit types, the ability to build new nests rather than simply discovering them, and meaningful upgrades such as individual unit abilities. Without these improvements, the game remains visually striking, but ultimately a shallow experience. It doesn't quite live up to its ambitious premise and visuals. It has the potential for an incredible future, but it's just not quite there yet. Pass.